What's up YouTube, ODST General back again with another Operation Trebuchet news update. I'm not sure if I can just call this Operation Trebuchet anymore because there's so many side mods to this. It's hard to justify calling it just the main mod. But anyways, let's get into it. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. You know, just like every other time, I start making these videos, but it's kind of time consuming making these particular ones because there's a lot of editing involved. And, you know, I didn't really get around to it until they added a whole bunch more stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, that's been in for a little while. And some of this is like brand new that I just got like today. So let's go ahead and, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is OpCan, one of the longest running side mods. Well, actually probably the longest running side mod, for Operation Trebuchet. If you guys don't know what OpCan is, I've shown it off a few times on the channel. Well, basically, it started off as a retexture thing. They added a lot of different variations of the Marines and like insurrectionists and stuff like that. And he has since gotten into the creation of assets such as the armored shields, you know, the turret, a few other things. So he's got some pretty cool stuff in there. But I've got some bad news. It's been put on hold. Basically, the reason for the initial reason it was put on hold was because Operation Trebuchet had announced they're going to be working on some new armors, which would have screwed up all of the stuff in OpCan for the most part. So he had announced he was going to put the mod on hold until the new update for Operation Trebuchet came out. Unfortunately, his computer ended up getting an insect infestation. And he's just on a permanent hold, or at least it will be until he gets a new computer or his current one repaired. He was working on a number of different projects, despite the fact that the mod was being put on hold prior to its damage by the insects. He was working on Insurrection Era Marine Armor / the Halo 2 style for the Halo 2 anniversary. This is really awesome stuff. He had already had it in game. Very cool things. You know, more marine armor, like different air variations, is always really nice. He was working on new Colonial Guard uniforms. Now, this one was probably one I personally was most excited for, just because of my own map project being very, very dense jungle. Like these guys are inspired from concept art for. I think it was Halo 2 or 3. I can't remember for sure where he said the concept art was from, but they're based off concept art for the UNSC Marines. But he's changed up a lot of stuff. Basically, the helmets are taken from that asset, the shoulder plates from Halo Wars, and the body armor loosely based off of Spartan Mark V body armor. But they're really cool. They do very, very much give off a jungly Vietnam feel, so it's pretty cool to have those guys. And the last thing he was working on was structures. So one of the bigger structures that he currently had in progress was probably the Halo Wars base that he had been working on. He had also had a number of other structures, such as a human version of some of the Forerunner structures from Silent Cartographer. So he had a few different things going on that he was working on prior to that crash. Now, I don't know how long that will put him behind schedule or what we can expect for him coming back, but fingers crossed, hopefully it won't be too long for that until we see him back in the game. Up next, we've got another side mod, UNSC Extended Arsenal, that was formerly the mod for the SAW. This mod was temporarily DMCA'd on Steam. The reason for that was kind of unclear to everybody for a while. After talking to Tim, the mod's creator, he basically said what had happened was he was missing the disclaimer required by Microsoft to make Halo mods. That had been something that a lot of people had suspected, so he just kind of confirmed that, yes, that was actually the case because he didn't have the disclaimer on there. So guys, if you plan on starting a Halo mod, add a disclaimer. Just all I'm going to say. So anyways, the mod's been rebranded UNSC Extended Arsenal, and it contains a whole bunch of different assets that he's been working on. He's gotten these models from various sources. Some of them he's got from his own mod for Command & Conquer. Some of these he's gotten from other people. So let's go ahead and talk about what's actually in his mod here. So I'm actually going to get in game here, and we are going to actually get this as playing the scenario. So the first thing he's got is the saw. Now this has been out for a little while prior to the mod getting removed. That is. So the saw is the light machine gun from Halo 4 and Halo 5. You know, that's it's probably something that's designed to be a little bit more portable as far as machine guns go. Gotta wait for this to load up here. Should probably have that in a second sooner. So I'm getting some errors. I do apologize about that. A lot of errors ever since Armour had a most recent big update with the tactical operations stuff. It just screwed everything up for me. I ended up wiping a whole bunch of my data and stuff in there. But anyways, let's see here. So here's the saw. And the saw comes with its own custom sight, which the last time I tried to use this was broken. It looks like that's been fixed since the last time I tried to use this. So it's pretty neat. And the guy's not reloading. I probably don't have any spare drums for that. So, oh, I turned around too soon. You guys weren't supposed to see that. So yeah, this is all fairly work in progress stuff still. Tim's basically his philosophy when it comes to this stuff is just to get it out first and fix it later on. So you know you'll notice that there's things missing like the shadow of the weapon and a few other things like that. But you know he is going back and he's improving this stuff time after time. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the next thing here. So I'm going to look over here in case you guys didn't actually see what I pointed at, although you could probably pause the video, which was unnecessary because we're going to talk about it anyways. So the next thing I have to talk about, oh cool, this one's already sorted by mod, is some flight helmets. So a lot of people have been begging for a couple different flight helmets for ages now. So we've got a few different flight helmets that were added to the mod. So the let's start with this one because this is actually the original. So we've got the Class 2 and Class 3 enclosed helmets. The Class 3 is based off the original Halo 1 helmets that you see, you know, a couple of pilots wearing, like the crashed Bumblebee pilot, and I think in some versions you can even see like the Pelican pilot maybe wearing this. I can't remember for sure. But yeah, basically it's just the Halo 1 flight helmet. It's pretty cool. This is probably my favorite of the three as of right now. Then you've got the Class 2 helmet. This is the Halo 2 style. Now, bear in mind these textures are the only ones currently in the mod. However, he is working on some other textures. I actually have some screenshots of that. If I have time to sneak those in, I'll try to show that to you guys here. In fact, I might just do that right now. So yeah, I've got a couple different screenshots here. The coloring is a little bit different. I do like these, the ones in the screenshots, just a teeny tiny bit better. But we're going to have to wait for those as of right now. And then we've got one final helmet. So that last one was the Halo 2. So of course up next is the Halo 3 helmet. This one's probably the most different of the three, just by basic design of it. The color's different, so there's a lot of different stuff to this one. Something feels kind of off about it. I think it's the materials or something don't quite match the basic op tray stuff. I think it's probably because it looks very matte, and like at every angle the light doesn't really reflect off of it, I think is what the issue is with this one currently. But like I said, you know, the stuff, he keeps going back and he keeps updating it and fixing it, so you know, don't expect for it to stay like that forever. I'm sure he'll see changes before too long. Tim's been pretty busy working on a couple other projects that I accidentally showed you guys. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about those other projects here. So the first thing you guys will have noticed is the Wombat over here. This is the drone from Halo 3 ODST. And I think you might even see a couple of these on one of the Halo 3 multiplayer maps stationed on a carrier. So basically this is a fighter slash drone kind of combination. A little bit of a jack of all trades when it comes to drones. So just in the most recent update I got for the UNSC Extended Arsenal, this one got textured and everything. It seems to have kind of a weird collision mesh because I can't actually walk directly behind it here without like hitting something invisible. I'm not quite sure what that is. I just noticed that for the first time. So I'm not quite sure what that is or what's causing that. Yeah, so it looks like the collisions are a little bit off for this. Probably need to be redone some. But let's go ahead and let's take this thing for a spin. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to run over here real quick, and we're going to open up our terminal. Oh, interesting. It's not on our terminal. Do I have... This is very strange. It was working fine earlier. I didn't have to do anything with it. Interesting. It wants me to hack the UAV, so I guess we're going to hack it. I don't quite understand why it's doing that. This is a NATO vehicle. I've got NATO gear, but it's wanting me to hack it, so we're going to go along with it. I literally used the same guy earlier to control this thing, so maybe there's a bug there or something I just found. So here we are, we're controlling it. The camera's behind it, so maybe that's what that invisible object was the camera. This is first person for the pilot. Here is the turret. You know, it's not something you probably want to be in on the ground, but there it is. But let's go ahead and take the main controls, and let's start her up. There's one thing I just want to check before I take off. Some of my audio stuff keeps reverting. I had the sound effects really loud to test something out, and they kept reverting. I do wish I could move this around a little bit in this camera. So it needs a little bit of room to take off, but for something like this, I'd say that's probably worth it. Let's bring the gear up. So the gear was one of the more broken things in this in the previous builds. It's still slightly off. You can see it's kind of clipping through on the one side there, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So the camera does seem to get kind of screwy with the landing gear. If you bring the landing gear down, you can see fine, but if you have the landing gear up and you're in first person, the landing gear is actually in the way of the camera. So that's something that still needs to be fixed. Let's go ahead. You can see here's the camera, secondary camera. It's got stabilization. You know, we've got our laser marker, or designator, I should say. We're gonna go ahead third person. So we've got a few different types of ammunition. So we've got anti-ground missiles, anti-air. We've got a couple bombs. And we've even got a nose-mounted 20mm with high explosive rounds. So that's pretty versatile machine. It doesn't contain crazy amounts of ammunition, except for probably the 20mm. I don't know how much that actually carries. But this thing's pretty well versed. It can pretty much handle any kind of situation, at least for a short period. So these things are basically probably designed to have multiples of these up. You know, you can engage ground or air, but we're going to go ahead and we're just going to release UAV controls. I don't know what's going to happen to it. It should hopefully automatically just start flying in the air. But let's go ahead. I got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, so we don't want to spend all day in that, especially because it's loud and a lot of what I probably just said was hard to hear. So we've got two vehicles here. Obviously, they're at very different points in completion here, but bear in mind these are both still very work in progress. even the Albatross, despite appearances. But let's go ahead. We're going to talk about the one here first. So this is actually something that's also being developed by the main Optrade devs. And in fact, from my understanding, this is the same model, actually, as what I've heard. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's just what I've heard. So I don't know where this is actually from or not. So anyways, this vehicle is based off of some Halo Wars concept art. It was originally called the Falcon, but obviously the Falcon was in reach. So the main mod dubbed this vehicle the Katana. Tim's calling it the Eagle, based off, you know, the Pelican and stuff like that, and the and the Falcon based off its original namesake, as versus like named after a sword, like the long sword, short sword, all that stuff. So this is still, like I said, it's very work in progress. It's kind of hard to find the cockpit here. This thing doesn't actually fly right now, from what I've seen. Oh god, I'm stuck. Stop, drop, and roll. Okay. There is a cockpit for this, and I did get in it. Oh, there it is. UNC Eagle as pilot. So the cockpit currently is based off of probably just some sort of standard thing. It looks like maybe for the Wasp or the A-10. I'm not really sure which one this is actually based off of right offhand, just because I don't do a lot of fixed wing flying. But yeah, it's you know, it's kind of nice because there's actual like controls and stuff. I kind of doubt half this works just based on the fact that it all looks pasted on there. But it is nice to actually have all the controls and stuff textured out, even if they don't do anything. They at least look pretty nice for the pilots. With that being said, it looks like it's going to have a pretty versatile variation of munitions. It looks like it's got some sort of underbelly-mounted weapon there. Well, that's very vague. I'm not sure if that's going to be like another 20 millimeter or something bigger. And we've got a couple different kinds of rockets, and it looks like probably some bombs there. And then we've got the Albatross. The Albatross is actually, like I said, in a further completed state. The big issue with this one that I've seen, besides some of the shadow stuff being weird, is collision. And the cockpit's not nearly as completed of a state. So there's still a lot of work for this one to be done. Let's see if I can't find it. So there's a few different positions you can get in. So apparently it's got a co-pilot seat, which I was unaware of. Oh yeah, okay. So yes, it does. That's actually kind of similar then in design to the Pelican, it seems. Obviously, the big downside with this one is if you're in first person, currently you can't see anything. This is all it's all just solid. You know, there's a couple cracks there where you can see through to the sky, and a couple there where you can see through to the ground. But other than that, you're not going to know where you're flying unless you're in third person on this thing. I don't think it's got any form of weapons. I'm not really sure why there's a co-pilot on this particular vehicle at this time. Maybe that'll be a little bit more clear later on. Let's go ahead and open the door. That opens the rear landing bay. As of right now, only the very back door opens. I'm not sure if this will actually be capable of carrying a Warthog or not. It might need to be scaled up some, because this is designed to supposed to be able to carry like 2 Warthogs, I think, or like a Scorpion tank, and it's definitely not big enough for a Scorpion tank. I don't know if it could actually carry one, but it does seem a little bit small compared to what it should be right now, so it probably needs to be upscaled some. Let's see if I can't get in here. So there's co-pilot or passenger seats in the back. So here's a passenger seat by the door. So this can carry a few infantry. Right now, though, this I'm not sure if this can. Probably can't carry as many people as the Pelican, but I mean, just bear in mind this is still pretty early work in progress. It is highly likely to change. Well, our Wombat's still flying around. That's good. There's foot marks on, or, well, yeah, footprints on the ramp. I guess that makes sense. So yeah, then there's also ride in the back, which is pretty much similar, but you can't shoot. So let's see if we can't find the pilot seat on this thing. We'll take it for a quick spin if I can hunt that down. It's probably going to be easiest if you want to use this to actually spawn directly in the vehicle, but you can get in the pilot seat and the co-pilot seat from externally in the vehicle, obviously, as I just did that, but... Right now I'm having a hard time finding the pilot seat. There it is. So I guess the pilot seat's basically in the same spot as the co-pilot on the other side. So yeah, once again, that's all locked up. So this is actually a VTOL vehicle. Really doesn't look like it should fly. It looks like it's basically a giant ODST drop pod designed to just kind of fall safely. Semi-safely. Let's turn our vectoring off. Let's get into forward flight mode here. Not extremely fast, obviously. I mean, we're still going, you know, nearly 200 miles an hour, so I mean, it's not really slow, but it's a big target, and it's not the fastest vehicle ever, which is fine. I mean, it's a transport vehicle. It's a big transport vehicle, so does do maneuvers like this really well, though. There is gear, although I can't really tell how the gear is. Okay, so what's up next? We've got to talk about Optray CC, the MA3, the M99. So, you know, we're gonna exit out of this here. We're just gonna shut the engine off, and we're going to see how well this thing glides. The fact that the engine's off right now, we're not automatically dropping like a brick, is kind of interesting, but we still got a lot of speed here that we're going. Yeah, we're starting to drop a lot quicker now. We're going to see if these trees save us. Oh! we survived that. That's pretty neat. I didn't expect to survive that. Last time I crashed this thing, I'm pretty sure it did explode. I'm fairly certain, at least. Isn't that that's pretty neat looking there, isn't it? Let's make that our screenshot here, guys. What do you say? Anyways, let's go ahead now that I'm crash landed, and let's talk about what else we've got going. So we've got the Optray CC mod. So the MA3, the M99, the MA5K, G2, A2, whatever 2. I can't remember, guys. I'm sorry. I always forget. I know I say I always forget, but I still can't remember. So yeah, they've got a lot of stuff going on for Optray CC, and I actually forgot to write one of these down, the more recent one. So they've got the MA3. They've very heavily overhauled this, as far as I can tell. They've now got an iron sight on there instead of the ammo counter. I've got pictures of it with an ammo counter on an older build, but I don't know if that was their intention to stay with that or not. You know, that might just be like an add-on or attachment, because when I'm looking at it, it looks like that could just kind of bolt on there as an add-on, but that ammo counter had iron sights too, so I'm not really sure whether or not they actually do intend to keep that. So the MA3, though, I'm pretty excited for it. Like I said, this is definitely a weapon I want to see. The current one, the most recent picture without the ammo counter, does remind me a lot of, I think it's the ISAs, the human military from Killzone. I can't really remember for sure, but it kind of reminds me a lot of those weapons. Then we've got the Gadoosh. You know, that one is, it's made it a little bit further. We've got a little bit more stuff to show off for it. Not anything too crazy or massive, but just a teeny tiny bit more to show off with that one. We've got the Halo 5 rocket launcher has been started now too, so we're going to have 3 rocket launchers potentially here when these are all completed. You know, I should say if and when. Unfortunately, we still haven't seen anything from Optray CC. This is, you know, I was one of the people going, oh yeah, they're going to be out soon, they're going to be out soon. You know, they're definitely still working on the stuff without a doubt, but, you know, as of right now, the MA5K, their most completed project, is on an unknown release date, and, you know, we'll see what happens with it. I don't really know of its status myself, so we're just going to have to play the wait patiently game and hope it actually comes out. So yeah, speaking of which, we've got the M99, the stanchion rifle. That's going to be the static sniper rifle. We've got a new model for that one. Still, once again, untextured. It's basically in the same state as all the other weapons. It's sitting in as a model right now. Some of these may have made some more advancements. A lot of their progress gets posted on their own page, and I probably missed some of it just between the several Discords that I'm now having to follow. Plus, you know, plus a Reddit and you know, a couple other sources, but you know, it's been a bit tricky trying to follow all this stuff. And then the MA5K, like I said, their variant of the MA5K is on hold. The reason for that is they tried to add an ammo counter, and the ammo counter is broken. So we're waiting for that to get updated and fixed before that actually gets released. Fletcher, a member of the 17th alongside myself, has released a new mod. It's called the Flutter X mod or something along those lines. I'm not actually sure what Fletcher's mod's called, but basically it's an overhaul of a whole bunch of weapons from the main mod. It basically takes those and it adds variations, like gives some of the weapons smart link scopes, or gives them different ammunition types, like I think he's got a version of the assault rifle or something that can like fire underwater rounds, but it requires a special one, or it's got like high explosive rounds for the shotgun. Just all sorts of like weird stuff like that. Like I think he's got like hollow point jackets and stuff like that. Just, it's kind of neat things, you know. Just it's kind of a small mod, kind of basic, nothing really crazy, nothing that you're gonna die without, but it's a neat mod. It's worth checking out, I would say. Then we've got where we're at right now, my own mod. So as you guys may have known, I've been working on a map for a pretty good while, and that's part of the reason I've had kind of less videos coming out recently, is because I've been spending a lot of time trying to get this working. You know, if I get stuck on something, I could spend 2-3 days on it, just hours and hours on end trying to get it fixed. But we've got the planet Gao. This is getting really close to a Steam release. I was hoping to do that at the end of last month, but a problem I had, kind of a big problem with like the grass and stuff, was taking me longer to get fixed than I had originally anticipated. So I've decided to get a little bit further along and just probably release it around Christmas time or something for you guys. I could pretty much release it now. There's a few things I need to go back and fix. Like, you'll notice there was some floating trees and stuff in a couple spots. That was because I was testing out the frame rates with a couple people here, just trying to see how performance was with the much thicker foliage that I have now. And when I generate some of the trees, they like to float, so I have to like actually change all the trees back down to relative height of like negative like 1 to 7, depending on the tree, to get it to actually look correct on the in the environment. But you know, I've got a lot of stuff. I've been putting a lot of work into this, and I'm pretty excited to have this about ready to release for you guys. As you'll have noticed when I was down the ground, you know, there's sound effects. It actually sounds like a jungle now. There's some pretty dense foliage as far as the trees and the grass goes when you're actually down on the ground. You know, obviously with the grass, the AI aren't really affected by that, and people with like lower end PCs aren't gonna have that on their screen. So it's more so of a challenge for the player than it is going to be for like necessarily a fair fight. But it's definitely, I think it's going to be pretty intense. And then with all the extra added trees and stuff, I think that'll kind of help balance out with people with like lower end PCs and stuff, because it'll still be kind of tougher for them to see through all those trees. What else do we have to talk about? Oh yes, we've got another map to talk about, Iberus. Now, a lot of you guys probably don't know what Iberus is, and if you don't, I don't really blame you, because this was Basically, it was an official map for Optray that never got officially added. It was made by Lumnon, who's made Gridlock, and he worked on the Sandstorm map for Operation Trebuchet. So he's basically their main map maker. And this was basically the first map that he's really worked on for the mod. And as far as I know, the only one that was like had PvE in mind. You know, obviously a lot of the stuff like Blood Gulch, Sandstorm, you know, even Gridlock to an extent were built with PvP in mind, but a lot of the community does PvE. And there just isn't really any official maps that support that. Well, Iberus was an official map. It did support that. It had a couple flaws, which is part of why it wasn't included in the main mod also. But the biggest reason was that it was reliant on Tanoa. For some reason, when Tanoa was added, Lumnon decided to remove the map from Steam. And he said he was going to work on some of the flaws and re-add it to the main mod. Right now, its status is kind of unknown if any work or anything's been made on that. Unfortunately, we're gonna be pretty much left, you know, up in the air until he actually says, "Hey guys, this is what I've got going on with it." You know, we're basically just stuck waiting. You know, unfortunately, not much else to say about that at this time, I suppose. What else do we got? Okay, we've got Optray Z. Let's talk about Optray Z. I actually forgot to put one thing out back at the airport, so let's go ahead and throw that out here. We need to go to Insurrectionists and Turrets, and we've got the FG-75. There's a bin in here. I'm not sure. That's just kind of going what that's based off of exactly, but basically we've got this here. Let's go ahead and place some vehicles down. So this is a anti-vehicle turret. It's the Field Gun 75. This is designed as an insurrectionist weapon, so only the insurrectionists have it. It's still very work in progress. It's part of Optray Z. Let's go ahead and throw down a few different vehicles to test this out on. Make sure these things aren't crewed, because I will probably die to a couple of these if they were. So this thing is, it's kind of a mean gun. It's not necessarily something you want to go like up against, but at the same time, it does have its shortcomings. I'll kind of show that off to you guys here in just a moment. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there we go. So we're going to just line these vehicles up at various lengths, and I'm going to show this off to you guys here. We're just going to, I guess we'll play as an insurrectionist right now. Let's go to men, URF. Doesn't really matter who, so let's just go to the militia advisor and make him the player. So let's go ahead and get in here. So the FG-75, though, like I said, it's still a work in progress. Zephyr's working on a couple of other projects right now, so I don't know when we'll see this one completed. This will probably be the first thing she goes back to after the other stuff gets completed, but let's take a look at this thing. So there's a Xbox 3, or I guess that's maybe an Xbox One remote based off the design, but there's an Xbox remote control right there. This thing will eventually actually be able to be remotely controlled. There will be two versions. There will be one where you can actually get in like this, and another where it works like a drone, and you'll actually be able to like place down the field gun, like go hide up in this tower or something, and remotely shoot at your enemies, so you're not necessarily exposed. Which is gonna be, it's kind of an interesting concept for a field gun actually. But let's go ahead and get in here. Right now, there's only one actual position that's worthwhile, and that's this position right here, is the gunner. Obviously, that's animation needs to be replaced. Currently, just basically sink into the ground, and that's it. It does also hold numerous passengers for some reason. It doesn't move, so I don't know why it holds passengers, but they don't really show up or anything. They just hide inside the vehicle, and then they'll get out if they're AI. But yeah, one shot. You know, the Warhog is it's still standing. Let's go take a look at that. Oh, see. I was gonna say, sometimes there is a delayed effect. Obviously, that's Armour, so that's kind of normal. That's par for the course. First person with this thing, not so great. You really need to use this in third person right now. So there's a couple different kinds of rounds. You've got high explosive, you got armor penetrating rounds. Let's try the high explosive out. Yeah, high explosive doesn't do anything there. And as you'd probably expect, it doesn't do anything on the Scorpion either. Actually, in fact, it usually bounces off, and I think that might have been what that secondary explosion was there, was that bouncing off. Let's go ahead and let's switch over to the armor piercing. Now, the armor piercing with enough rounds can take out a Bison, but the Scorpion's pretty much invulnerable to this thing, so if you see a Scorpion and you're on this, run. Just run for your life. It also is immune to small arms fire right now, so if you want to take this out, you need either a vehicle, a grenade launcher, or not a grenade launcher, like grenades or a rocket launcher, and even grenades are still kind of iffy as far as their effectiveness. Can get a little bit loud. Forgot to put earplugs in. Let's do that so it's not quite so annoying for you guys. So it is smoking, so you can see the armor penetrating rounds are actually kind of efficient. Now, previously when I tested this out, it took a few of those rounds, so maybe there was an update on this I wasn't aware of that buffed the gun's power. Because last time I had to shoot the Bison numerous times, even with the armor penetrating, to do anything. So the Bison's down. That's actually pretty cool. So let's try this on the Scorpion here for a minute. One of the cool things about this is the design for it. They've actually got, if you look at this, it like rotates in that middle area every time you fire the weapon. But yeah, you get like 2 or 3 of these lined up. The AI seems to have some problems with like line of sight with these things, so you have to get kind of close to the enemy with them. But you put these up against like a column of Warthogs or like logistics vehicles, and they are done. So yeah, it's pretty neat. Obviously, like I said, for this, I do think it should be able to take out the Scorpion. I understand the Scorpion's very thick armored, and that the size of this weapon's munitions probably isn't really supposed to be designed to take that out, but you know, that's going to be something big that you're probably going to see this thing deployed against as armored columns. So it should be able to take out the UNSC armor, you'd think. Especially when you can take out like a Warthog with like machine guns and small munitions. But let's go ahead and let's talk about Spartans. So as of right now, there's more Spartan development going on as far as armors and stuff like that. But as of right now, you can get more variations of the Spartans currently in there. It's still the same kind of armor, but if you go into the special class, instead of there just being one Spartan now, you've got different classes. So you've got the automatic rifleman Spartan, you've got AT, you've got all these different versions, just like you do for the normal Marine. So it's not a huge change. It's pretty minor in the grand scheme of things, probably, but as a matter of convenience, that is pretty awesome to see these added. You know, that way you don't have to like go in, and if you have a mission with Spartans, like especially kit up each guy or something like that, you can just plop a guy in and boom, ready to go. Team leader, scout sniper, ready to go. So let's talk about the big mod, the main mod. There's still a lot of stuff for the main mod in development. The biggest one, the biggest news in here, I suspect for 90% of you guys, the HUD has been fixed, and it is 64 compatible. When we'll see an update with that, who knows? I don't know. Hopefully not too far out, but basically Big Wilk is still working on it. He's adding a couple things to the HUD. I don't know if he had to build it from the ground up like he originally was saying he had to, but he says he's made it so that people with certain resolutions that couldn't see the compass before will now be able to see the compass. He's fixed some of the text errors and weapons display issues, so he's fixed a lot of the issues with the HUD that were kind of around before that you really didn't hear a lot of complaints about, but that did affect a number of people that once in a while you'd see a forum posting about it and somebody complaining about it. I know I was actually affected by the whole HUD thing. I had to change my game resolution, play guess the resolution that the HUD will show up properly in. But for the most part, though, yeah, it's something that's going to be very exciting for most people once that gets implemented. So, yay, HUD fixed. Woo! On the other hand, the Gosshog's broken. So with the most recent Armour update, I guess this was due in part to the tank updates. The Goshawk is broken. I'm not going to show you guys this because I just don't want to die. But basically, if you fire the Goshawk now, the recoil sends it flying off and will pretty much instantly kill you. If you get really lucky, it'll just be critically wounded and go flying off into space like Team Rocket and the Warthog. When that will be fixed, nobody knows. There was a rumored possible fix for it. Somebody said they're going to look into it, and that was the last I heard. If we're lucky, that will have been finished and they'll have fixed it, and it was just kind of a quiet thing. I don't know. New UNSC uniforms. This one's pretty exciting. I know this is something a lot of people have been asking for a while. Obviously, we've got the OpCan stuff being redone, but the devs have finally are finally getting around to people's requests, I should say, for new uniforms. They're making more lore-friendly, screen-accurate uniforms based off of Halo Reach. And we're getting a few different variations. So I've got a number of different pictures Dog posted on the Discord of a few different versions of this and a couple of test patterns for camouflages. The camouflages are still up in the air. He said they haven't decided on those or finalized anything yet, but let's go ahead and take a look at those. So we've got, kind of, like I said, these are all based off of Reach, so they all kind of had that a little bit more kind of puffy and padded looking thing that Reach has going on with the armors. Like a lot of bands and stuff around the uniforms. But just right offhand, they do look far more accurate to the Halo Reach uniforms that were in existence before. A lot of the flaws and stuff of the current under uniforms is gone. And probably one of the bigger things that you guys probably don't notice is that the under uniforms don't have armor bits attached to them. On the current build, if I throw in a guy and I take off his vest and I take off his helmet, he still has body armor on his shoulders and his legs. That is gone for this current design. Instead, those will actually be attached to the vest. If I recall correctly, when the mod was initially being developed, that was actually an issue they had. They wanted to actually include the two separately, but because of design issues or wherever that they had to include them together. So nice to see that's been fixed or replaced with something a little bit better looking, so that you can just basically have unarmored UNSC soldiers roaming around a base or something if you want to just have like a scene on a base. That's pretty nice to have that. So there's a few different shots of that. There's a version with the current armor, with the current Halo Reach armor and the current helmet, which the vest and stuff are pretty good. I don't think those are changing at all. Or if they are, they're going to be very minor changes just to better suit the new armor type. But as far as design goes, this new armor actually fits the current body armor, like the vest and stuff, a little bit more accurately. I think the only thing that you'll really be seeing change with the vests and stuff is the actual addition of the arm and leg armor to it. Let's see if I can find it here. Should have more pictures. Oh, there it is. It's a couple pictures ahead of where I was looking. So we've got three different variations of this uniform. We've got the long sleeve version. We've got a rolled up sleeve. And then we've got a t-shirt version, which uses the same legs and then just a basic t-shirt. In their demo one, the t-shirt says ODST on it. The rolled up sleeve one's kind of an olive green. It looks very Vietnamish, and then they've got kind of like that. Kind of like an off gray, kind of bluish gray looking one. And then they've got different camouflage patterns they're testing out. So they've got like what looks like a kind of a urban camouflage. It's kind of a black and white speckled one. They've got like a desert one, a woodland and tropic version, an all gray version for the Marines presumably, and a winter version. But bear in mind, those are all still works in progress. Oh, so yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. I'm really excited for that uniform overhaul. New insurrectionist uniforms. Now, this is what Zephyr's currently working on. This is probably part of the reason that the turret hasn't been quite finished. She's been working on new uniforms for the insurrectionists. This originally had just started out. That was supposed to be a replacement for their underclothing because they didn't have custom stuff. And that they were supposed to retain the body armor that they had already. However, that has changed already. So let's take a look at the under uniforms. This is all custom built from the ground up. So they've got kind of a collar, and the boots are tucked in. It looks kind of slightly off, but it's really good. It's definitely a step up from what it looked like prior, in my opinion. Yeah, kind of basic stuff though. You know, like I said, there's no body armor or anything in this variation right here. So that's just kind of their standard clothing that they're gonna have now. With that being said, and you know what? Okay, yeah, I do have a picture of it. Okay, I was gonna say, am I missing a picture of the body armor? So with the body armor, it's getting rebased off of some concept art design, as well as some personal design preferences that's being redone. So we're actually getting some custom body armor that's gonna be put into the mod here. So kind of having a hard time distinguishing the body armor from the actual clothing. You can tell around the neck is the current uniform, and it looks like down to the wrist is the current uniform, but it looks like there's like 2 or 3 layers of the vest, and it's kind of hard to tell if some of that's all the vest or if part of that's actually the uniform too. I'm not really sure on that one. But yeah, you got kind of more modern day looking helmet, some goggles. The vest is all being custom made. That's still being designed. It does look a little bit sparse, but Zephyr's actually already developed some add-ons and pouches and canteens and stuff to add to it, like a knife just today. So it's going to look a lot better once a lot of that stuff gets added on to different versions of this. And no, somebody asked this, but if it's not obvious to some of you guys, that is not the position that those items will be in. That is just placed for ease of access to those items when placing them onto the armor, just in case somebody feels the urge to ask. Spartans are being worked on. Like I said, Spartans are being worked on. The biggest thing that I've got news-wise for the Spartan is that the dog is working on an EVA-style helmet. A while back, he asked for people's opinions as far as which they liked better between A and B design. They looked the same, except for the texture was a little bit different. The A version had some black trim. The B version was all olive green, you know, minus the visor and a couple of accent-type things. Most people like the A, but there was also an optional skull that was placed on there to give it the appearance of Emil's helmet. That, of course, was really popular. Everybody's a big fan of Emil because he's ready. How about you? Anyways, what else we got? C12 and demo charges. Oh, Jedi Nick. Jedi Nick is one of my favorite kind of sort of developers. I call him a kind of sort of developer because he's showing off a lot of content, and unfortunately we have yet to see any of his actual working game, or at least playable for us. He is the guy who developed the Welcome to Reach mod. If you guys don't know what that is, just search Welcome to Reach. There's a high chance you'll find a video I did, just basically swooning over it, because it's just the same thing as the last level of Reach where you play as a Marine, but it's one of the best missions I've played for Arma 3 ever, just, you know, at least as fan-made stuff goes, or community content goes, just because of the I'm trying to think of what the term would be, and it's not coming to mind, but basically how the mission actually felt. Just like the world around you, the weather patterns, all that stuff. It made for a really great looking mission. You know, the sound effects and stuff used in there were really cool. And they made a really kind of garbage enemy. The current version of the elites, as broken as they are, look really awesome to fight against. So, you know, having something coming from him is probably a pretty good thing when he actually gets this stuff out. Anyways, let's talk about what he's actually making, because I'm not talking about that. He's been working on C12 and demo charges. Now, C12 is what it sounds like. It's C4 on crack cocaine. It's the 2552 or 25 something variant of C4, just like it sounds like. It works just like current explosives, so you'll be able to like take it in Ace or whatever, or just the standard vanilla game, plop it onto a wall or vehicle, and then blow that thing up to the moon. He's got a video of this. And if I remember, I will try to include that video in my video here. But if I don't, then I don't. Then just enjoy the screenshots. He's also got the demo charges. He showed off the C12. The demo charges have not been showed off in game yet, besides these screenshots. I don't know how those are stacked up compared to the C12 as far as completion goes. What next? The HC-1500 transport truck. The HC-1500 is probably something you're not familiar with by its name. This is a transport vehicle seen in a couple of the Halo games. I'm not sure which one this originally was featured in. I want to say probably Halo 2 based off of how it appears, but it might be like later Halo games too. I'm not positive. So we've got three different groupings of this HC-1500. We've got the civilian version, which is what you see in the games. You've got the insurrectionist variation, which has a troop transport and a fuel variation too, as well as an ammo or an armory variation. And it's got the rebel design on it. It's a little bit darker green. And then you've got the UNSC version. UNSC version comes in the same flavors as the insurrectionist version, which is to say it comes as a portable armory, fuel supply truck, and troop transport. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It'd be really interesting to see like a mobile arsenal or something, because I'm assuming that's what it's going to be. It's going to be designed as a mobile arsenal, I'd imagine. We have not seen anything from Drake Darren in quite a long time. It's actually been years since he's actually gotten anything in game. And the reason for that is he's the mod for First Contact. He's basically just a modeler, and he has to rely on the devs to actually add his content. So he's been working on a few different things for the UNSC for a while, like he worked on a radar wagon and stuff a while back. I don't know when we'll actually see any of his content added in. I don't know if this is expected to be in the next patch or not. Hopefully we do see this. I do like it. I would really like to see his Covenant stuff come out a little bit more, though. But still, it's a neat vehicle. I don't want to undercut it by my own wants. We've got battle jumpers. Well, sort of. Battle jumpers will be worked on. They are currently in the game because of OpCan. So they're actually based off of the book Halo Last Light, which is what this very same map is based off of. So I'm pretty excited to have these guys in as well. But yeah, the current version's basically it's taking the ODST helmet and combining it with the ODST armor and like no body armor or anything like that. So this is basically the current version of the battle jumpers using like the CSAT uniforms. Looks pretty decent, you know. But yeah, their own version should be kind of interesting. It's not been started yet, but they do have plans to work on it. That will be Zephyr taking up that project, so you can probably be assured that it's going to get done when it does get started. It'll probably be done pretty quick, and it should be pretty good quality. And one last thing to talk about here, and we are done. How long have we been going? My mouth is really dry. We've been talking for almost an hour straight. Holy cow. There was a ton of stuff to talk about, guys. I probably could have cut a little bit of time out of this if I quit saying, but I didn't. So let's go ahead and finish up. We've got, oh shoot, I almost forgot one thing. Actually, I'll talk about that very, very last because I did forget one thing. Let's talk about the last thing for Optray though. So we've got vehicle lifting, and supply pods have been overhauled again. You might already say, well, vehicle lifting's already in. Apparently, vehicle lifting wasn't actually supposed to be in this build, or at least it was an early release of it. I'm not quite clear on which of those is actually the case, but yeah, it was released in. It wasn't quite the complete version that was put into the mod right now. So there is further overhauls to the vehicle lifting to make it look a little bit better with at least the op-tray vehicles, probably a little bit safer, more efficient. But the big thing everybody's waiting on is supply pods. I don't think this made it in any way, shape, or form, but I want to double check right now just to be sure. So let's go. Let's get... No. Actually, let's get you. And let's get you. So basically in the demo video Wilk showed off of this most recently, he's shown off videos of this before. You basically had your little supply vehicle, your little cart for the airports and stuff, and you just go up to the Pelican, and there's a scroll wheel option that pulls up a menu. Oh shoot, I forgot to change it off of this. There is Spartans there. Well, we're in here. I want to try something out. Rip. Missing in action. Wait, is he still alive? No, his weapon's there. He can still be alive. His leg was moving, though. He hasn't lost blood, but he's dead. I'm pretty sure he lost some blood. I saw blood over here. He wasn't even in the direct path, so infantry, this will destroy infantry no matter who they are. Man. Rip. Okay. I apologize, guys. I just had to take that opportunity since I spawned into the wrong place. You know, this is probably pretty pointless. I'm pretty sure this has not been added in yet. But I want to make sure that's actually the case. And even if it's not, I can basically show you guys how it will kind of work, because if it isn't, I'll just try to remember to actually like record that video from Wilk and then just play it over this audio. But we're loading it in again, at least in whatever I'm seeing. Maybe that's not what you guys are seeing in the final version of this video. We'll find out. Anyways, you get in your little cart here, you drive up to the Pelican, and you will have a scroll wheel option. Yeah, right now all that's popping up for me is load vehicle, so I could load this like that, which, whew, that just, that gets right up in there. It's gonna be a long drop. I got hurt falling from that. Okay, so yeah, it's not in, so hopefully I'll remember to put in Big Wilk's version of this, if I'm smart about it. But I did have one last thing I need to talk to you guys about that I forgot to cover back in UNSC Extended Arsenal, which is the target designator. This is not actually in the mod quite yet. This will be added in sometime. Hashtag soon. But basically, Tim just sent me these pictures literally earlier today. I've shown off his target designator in the past. He had a model for it. It was untextured and all that stuff, so it's still very work in progress. He's since made some progress on it. He's got it in the game at the very least. I don't know if it actually does anything quite yet. I'm not sure if it's just going to be like literally a laser designator for like airstrikes and stuff, or you know, or somehow be able to like actually work with like artillery or mortars to actually use it and kind of do that. I don't know how this is going to work out, but it's kind of neat. He's getting a game, even if it's just a basic laser designator. That would be kind of nice to get like a lore friendly laser designator in. But it's been an hour, guys. That is all I have to talk about. There was a lot there. Let me know what your thoughts are about this in the comments below. I know you guys always have something interesting to say, or you're very excited to see this stuff. What are you guys looking forward to the most? What do you want to see that I haven't talked about? And what do you guys want to see in the next video? Take it easy.